A short time ago in a galaxy nearby, a podcast was made to inspire and entertain. Casual Space. Making space available, one story at a time. Your host with grace, Beth Mund.
All right, here we are, Casual Space, with teammate and board member for Stories, Alex Martin. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Beth. Thanks for having me.
I'm so grateful. We have a lot to talk about it when it comes to Mission 3.
We do, don't we? Where should we start?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, let's start here. I'm gonna get serious here. First of all, this has been in the works for a while.
Yes.
And this is one of those weird things that I think people in space understand in the industry, but perhaps some other people might not. Why we've gone out of order. We've done 5 missions in the last 2 years, which is unheard of. But
That,
this is 3. And so we've already completed 1, 4, 5, and 2.
into in
So
that
mission
order.
in that order. Yes. So 1 again went to station, Stories of
Right.
Space, where we
Yeah,
took the
our
SD
stories were
cards.
on the ISS for how long was it? 6 months?
Just about 7. Yep, you got it. And they were directly exposed to space and the radiation harshness of space. And that is why we are still just almost completed the testing process of those cards. So once we got them back, we sent them to our partners at the university, and we have continued to test them, and we'll be publishing those results really soon. That's exciting. Missions 2 and 4 and 5 also completed, and the most recent was this summer. You were joining us. I'm so grateful. And we just put at that episode,
Yeah.
that's the previous episode, last week's episode, where we had a great candid discussion, a little behind the scenes on Mission 5, where we took stories underwater, which I
Those were
just
the
listened
harsh
to.
environment of the Gulf down there in Key Largo. Yes.
Yeah, what did you call it? Murky.
Murky. It was very murky. It's much
So
more
I just
challenging in space, probably for its own different reasons.
maybe I
Yeah.
just re-listened to that, Alex, and I was laughing the whole time. Like just that whole experience. I hope whoever listens is inspired, but also enjoys the journey with us because it truly was fun.
Well, the secret to these missions, and this goes back to the idea of them being out of order, is that when you see this from the outside, from the public point of view, they make it look easy. But there's so much going on behind the scenes. Just for us, planning Mission 5 in Key Largo at Jules Undersea Lodge took a lot of prep, took a lot of work. And then, while we're there, we're super busy and trying to capture content. So going back to Mission 3, as you said, we started this process quite some time ago. And now we're getting to the point where it's almost time for the launch and we're just about ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about Mission 3 and break it down for everyone. This is unique and it's so special because it's focused on now, all of our missions include all storytellers from everyone all over the globe. But this particular mission is really in service of the people of Canada. Why? Because we're launching from Canada's first commercial spaceport in Nova Scotia. So anyone from all over the world can still send your story, and the deadline is fast approaching, so I would not hesitate. But we are getting ready. We've partnered for some time now with Maritime Launch Services, and they are a service provider for the launch, just as their title says. So that means that companies can actually, in a sense, rent their launch facility. So different rocket companies from all over the world will come to this new Canadian commercial launch pad and location so that they can launch satellites. This particular launch will be uncrewed. It will only contain the small payloads, including stories of space, and it will be what we call in the business suborbital.
Suborbital. Well, as you said, this is going to be a momentous occasion for the people of Canada because it will be their first commercial launch at the beginning of many going down into the future. And then, so we want to hear from the voices of Canadian people and of the Canadian native peoples as well. We want to bring those stories, the hopes and dreams, the pride of that nation and its people, and look to the future for how Canada will be part of the international space program going forward.
Yeah, you bet.
So
So,
suborbital, though, I'm going back to what you said a moment ago.
yeah.
Suborbital, for those people who may not know, a suborbital flight is where a rocket is launched and it's going to go up, and we're hoping, can we say it? Can we say?
We're
And
hoping
we're
there
hoping
is a goal.
there
Yes.
is a goal for it to reach the common line, which is the point above the atmosphere where we generally consider space to begin. Now, there's no hard line. It's the atmosphere becomes more rare, and then you're in space. But there's this one sort of line that if we get above that, then people go, "Yes, you've officially been to space." We're hoping to achieve at least that point, and then that vehicle will return to Earth immediately. It will not orbit the planet, thus suborbital. But it will be
Correct.
carrying its payload into space, and there'll be sensors on board and the payload. And then from there,
It'll splash down into the ocean. So, this is really exciting. This is not a test. This is the actual launch. However, it does lay the foundation and the groundwork for future launches in rockets that are of this size, carrying these types of payloads. So, it's really one of the firsts. And whenever it's a first, everyone kind of holds their breath, as we know, because space is hard.
yeah,
And as we know, sometimes the best laid plans are just exactly that. They are plans. So we are fluid. We are making sure our expectations are matching what the rocket can provide and perform. And we're also just thrilled because we are a privileged payload. We are very honored to carry, as you said, the Indigenous people's stories because Canada has a couple of things maybe our listeners aren't familiar with. First of all, it's a rich history of space exploration from the Canadian arm, which there are two. A lot of people may not know.
one on
There's
the
one
shuttle, one on the
original to
space.
the shuttle, and yes, one for station as well. Those two arms, one continues to operate today. And of course, when the shuttle retired, the arm did as well. But there have been a lot of astronauts from Canada, a lot of payloads that have flown from Canada. And that, believe it or not, there have been many suborbital launches and flights. However, this is the first commercial. So when we're talking about ESA or Canada's history of launches and Canada's agency, and NASA is ours. We talk about all these space agencies, and they operate for the government, for the people. This is a commercial entity, which means they are accepting payloads based on who's able to purchase and access them. So it looks a little different. It's definitely commercial focused. So a lot of that opens up access to a lot more people who need to access space. And we
Sure.
are lucky enough to be one of those first payloads.
Absolutely. And you're talking about the possibility of having smaller payloads or smaller sensor packages or experiments that are run by maybe where a smaller company couldn't get access to a large vehicle or spot on a launch with their government space program. Maybe now they'll have the opportunity to get access to space to do research, to do any number of things that they might want to do. So the commercial aspect of it opens us up to a lot more exploration, a lot more science, a lot more research, and a lot more connection to the public, to the people. So some of these things
Yeah,
that governments do, the big picture stuff is great, but then we also want that smaller, more localized experience. We want to open up space to everyone, is basically what I'm saying.
absolutely. And I want to just backtrack one more step to explain how this all got started. And it's thanks in part to Robert Firebach. Robert is a significant founder and CEO at Maritime Space. And we met each other at Humans to Mars, where you and I first met as well. And we are one of these few people that, for these conferences, we're thinking way into the future. Like there was Humans to Mars before there was talks about Artemis returning to the moon. So these are the players in the industry, I should say the founders and the people who are not just dreaming but delivering on things like this commercial spaceport in Canada. And thank you to Robert for extending the invitation for Stories of Space to join on this payload. This
Absolutely. And you make
very
a
special.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. You make an excellent point about the planning that goes into these projects. The launches you see today were initiated years, decades sometimes before. And so
Yeah.
if you shift that forward, the things that we're thinking about doing today are the things that we're going to be doing in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. And so the best time to start thinking about how can we change the way we explore space is right now.
Yeah.
To about how can we get involved? What do we want to say? And the way, if I may, that we as individuals can be part of that is to share our stories, to share our
Yes.
thoughts, to share our aspirations, to share our hopes. I would like to see this is what I want, this is what I imagine. Those desires, those imaginations start the process of the exploration that we see happening sometimes, that we're seeing happening now from the past, but that will be happening in the future from where we're coming from now. Hopefully that makes sense.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Alex. And for those of you who have maybe tuned in for the first time to the Casual Space podcast, let's explain a little on how this works, these stories that you speak of.
Yes.
So,
Oh, you want me to do it or you want to take it?
well, let me prop you up to explain the database because you've built it, you've helped design it and put it in place so that we can accept that stories, and then I'll let you take it from there on how we get from a story submitted to the website to actually flying on the rocket.
Perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to set me up. That was the setup.
What's
So
the setup? Go ahead.
if you have a story, which we all have stories, everybody's story is interesting, everybody's story is unique, everybody's story is personal and from the heart. We would invite you to go to our website, www.storiesofspace.com, and submit your story to the mission. You can choose to do for a specific mission, although as Beth said a moment ago, all of the stories that are submitted from this point forward will be going on all future missions. So we want to carry that whole package going forward. And you can click on there. There's a form that will take your story. You can put in a little bit of information. We just need a name. We don't need all your details. We're not trying to collect any real information. Just your name, whatever you want to submit, and then your story about space. Now, it doesn't have to be space explicitly. It can be about exploration. We went to the ocean. We're going to other places to explore, and they're all interconnected. So stories of space, any kind of space. That could be outer space, inner space, your mind, your friendship spaces,
Yeah,
in the ocean, in the air, and submit your story. And then what happens is that story joins our database. And then we generate a certificate that you'll get in the email immediately after your story is received. And so you'll see the mission, if you selected one, that your story is going to be joining, and then it mentions the details of the story. And there'll be a little QR code on the certificate that you can have your friends capture with their phones so they can read your story if you like. So that's
I'm
what
so
happens.
excited about that. Thank you for building that.
Oh, not a problem. It's a joy. And so what happens then is that we collect those stories in our database, and then after we do that, then when the mission time comes, we download all those stories onto a micro SD card. Those SD cards are sent to, or sometimes hand carried to the
Mhm.
location, inserted into the craft or the device or however we're moving them, and then pew, off they go.
Yeah, that's it. Now,
That
some
was the
we
technical,
have
that was the technical version of how they get
just
shot into space. Just like that.
I love it. Hey, students love that too. And let's tell everyone what kinds of stories you had mentioned, alluded to it a little bit. Everything from poems, white papers. I say this all the time, so I feel like I've already explained a little bit, but we're getting all kinds of different things. Sometimes people um, really get into the sci-fi part of it and are very elaborate, and it's a whole narrative, which we love. And sometimes people are very practical and they say, this has been my idea for a while. Why don't we have this in space? We should be using it now here on Earth. I'm proposing it here. This is where it can live in a database. And I want to amplify that just for a moment on how this works beyond the mission and the launch. The database is has CEOs within the industry reading and looking through your submitted stories. So you never know where an idea or a proposal or something that can help, as Alex, you said, shape our future can start right here within our database. And that's inspiring, whether you're a student and you're 8 or you're an accomplished person in the industry and you're 80. And we have all of those stories in all of those ages, which I find to be the heart of really what we're trying to capture, which is your ideas and your reflections and what you see for our future. When we break down the database, and I love sharing this on stage when I'm speaking, I find that it's very equal, 50-50 men and women, very equal, very wide ranging ages. And most stories include humans, robotics, and exploring future concepts. So we're looking ahead, we're all included. These are the reflections of the story based on the pulse that we have from the database that you were able to build, Alex. And as you said, which I think is super exciting and very important, if you sent us a story um, on mission 1 and we flew it to space on the space station, It's going back again this time on mission 3, and we will continue to do that as we go, no matter what the mission number. So it's never too late to send a story to us to be included.
Right. And the stories can be fiction or nonfiction or stories about what you think the future should or might look like, as well as stories about how you came to be interested in space and the space sciences or in exploration in general. Um, Story that I wrote, if I can mention this, is
Please, yeah.
fictional about problem solving. It's part of what I do with my life is problem solving and how it takes all different types of ways of thinking to solve these problems. We tend to think about space in terms of the right stuff, which
Mm.
is an important aspect of our space history, finding the people that had the right stuff to go to space. But the future of space exploration and development is not going to be just about a specific set of people. It's not just going to be governments, as we see we're getting into commercial now. It's not just going to be fighter jet pilots who become astronauts. It's going to be, and has already started becoming, more about all different types of people with varying capabilities. So when you think about, I heard once a popular astronomer say, "We're all already in space, working together
Mm.
here on Earth." And as we make the leap into traveling in space in vehicles or in devices of our own construction, we are going to take those same skills. It's going to be all different types of thinking, all different types of experiencing, and all of our stories are going to be part of that, the stories that we've had so far and the ones that we are going to create together in the future. So we invite all of those ideas to come together. And so, as your stories join the database, those voices are going to all come together. And at some point, we're going to make that available to people in a very unique and interesting way, which maybe we'll talk about down the road in a little bit.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad. I'm going to go back and reread your story. I love when I get to see your stories. And even Robert Firebach, he has a story, and you know what his is about?
Okay.
Eating a steak in space. It is so fun because it talks about how it gets rehydrated, what the flavors are, how they come through, what the device is that cooks the steak, and
Very
how
detailed.
it's enjoyed. Very
Man like
detailed.
steak. Yes.
Yeah, I think we know what Robert was thinking when he wrote that.
Apparently, I like
Uh,
problem solving, then, if that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
I guess
So
I'll have to write mine too, real soon.
Absolutely. And we invite you all to share your stories, especially for this particular mission. We invite Canadians to share your stories. And we want to incorporate your culture, your experiences, your thoughts. Just one more thought about the Canadian contributions to the space program so far. I remember as a teenager when the shuttle was still flying, and I remember how proud Canada was about the Canada arm and the Canadian flag being on the arm itself, and how instrumental literally that device was in making the shuttle's missions possible, and having that be on station now that people may not be aware of. We're still
Yeah.
depending on that technology and Canada's ability and the contributions to being able to manipulate larger devices and attach them to the station is still out there. So we want to celebrate Canada's contribution so far and open the future to new and a variety of different contributions as well.
You bet. Now, one of the ways we're doing that is through our ambassador, who is our official Canadian ambassador. Her name is Parul Hedul. And I'm disappointed that she couldn't join us today. I know she really wanted to be here. But Parul has worked extensively to help us reach out to all the educators, institutions, organizations. She's helping us with our social media efforts and kind of keeping everyone abreast as to how we're accepting stories, where to go to participate. And she's been our liaison for our partners and neighbors in Canada. So we can't thank her enough. And Peril did something so brave last week. I don't know if you caught it, Alex, but she was the presenter in a space conference where she herself presented the poster board session on stories of space. And it was really well received. She did fantastic. She put it all together herself. And that's a really brave thing to do. She's a student at the university in Ontario. And so she took the lead on this. We gave her all the tools and resources, but really she's been doing this and assisting us as our official Canadian ambassador. So she could probably do it in her sleep, but she is definitely a fierce one to watch for in the industry up and coming as she continues to earn her degree and then perhaps step into a story-based future. I'm sorry, or a space-based future.
Yeah.
So I love that students like Parul, and we've had former students that have since graduated and gone to MIT and some of the universities and started working in the field in their industries respectively because they started with stories of space. So if you're interested and you'd love to be an ambassador, we welcome you with open arms. We'd love to have you. We do some pretty fun things, would you say? And we could use your talents and skills.
Yeah. And when I speak to people in space sciences or the space program or in adjacent fields, I hear this recurring theme of that moment when somebody first sort of caught the
Mhm.
fever for space exploration, when they had that aha, they looked up and saw the stars really for the first time, or had an experience from a mentor or from some volunteer work they were doing, or just came across an instant where their life changed when they became interested in this sort of thing. And that's how all these stories start. Nobody is born to be, an instrumental in a program or born to be a specific thing. It's a choice, it's a passion. And when you share those passions with people, you make them real. And so we
Yeah.
invite you to do that with us.
Yes, absolutely. When was yours? When was your moment?
Oh my goodness. I, s- I don't know that anybody's ever asked me that. As an amateur astronomer, I've loved the moon for a very long time, and so I'm sure it was coming. I was raised in a relatively large city, and so I think the first time I actually went out to the country and saw the night sky uncolored by city lights, and realized you have that sort of. They talk about the overview effect, when you see the Earth
Yeah.
as thing the first time. For me, I guess it might have been the underview effect when I looked up and saw the vastness of reality, and it really sort of, hit home to me that the light from distant stars was impacting on my physical person through my
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
That really, I don't know, I'm sure I don't remember exactly what I thought at the moment, but looking back on it, just seeing the
That was
vastness
the moment.
with
Yeah.
my own eyes was like, wow, there's a lot more out there, and there's a lot of questions that we have to ask.
Wow.
That for me, that
There
was
it
it.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Question.
were young. Yep. I was young too. Space camp.
Yeah.
Totally. And who would have thought that it would give me the trajectory to land here with the not-for-profit and all the things that we get to do? And it's such an honor. Let's talk about what we are expecting from Mission 3, both at the launch site and then post event that we can share with everyone. I do want to really express how very rural and why we launch on a coastal area that obviously is protected, obviously is so remote that it is, very safe,
Yes.
and it's already be years and years. We're talking, as you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, years of planning go into this. They have to do a lot of filing with the government, with the nation that both, and this is important, both finds the perfect launch site, but also respects the land.
Of course.
And at this particular area in Canada, as is most of Canada, the indigenous people have recognized the land to be sacred. That means that the launch site itself is to be semi-permanent. And I'm familiar with this as an analog astronaut because when we go exploring, we make sure that we leave nothing behind. We're not touching anything, we're not removing anything, we're not leaving anything, and we honor the sacred grounds that we explore on. And
Right.
this is no different.
The objective is to be a good steward of that land for the time that it's granted to you to use.
Exactly. And so that is exactly what Maritime Launch Services has done. This entire launch location is remote and removable. That means there are no permanent structures. And I don't know what the future plans are or how it works, but I know that for this launch in particular, that is being honored. And that was part of how it came into establishment, is making sure that they did honor that. So that's very important. And I think that's really a lovely tie to say, and for us as well, to say we will carry the stories of the ancestors that once looked up to the stars and navigated their way and lived their lives inspired by space. And now we recognize that as we go forward when we explore. So
Yeah. And you've already mentioned Maritime Launch and T minus, the engineering company that's providing the rocket for this particular launch, if I may say so. And then I also want to recognize our community partners, Stargaze Nova Scotia, who is
Yes.
a group of local astronomers in the region who are involved as well in promoting the idea of the launch facility, who are encouraging enthusiasm around it, and just for the night sky and for exploration in general.
Yeah.
We want to say thank you to them for being part of this and for the contributions and the sort of the storytelling that they're doing around it as well.
Exactly. Now, the launch itself will be just moments, like literally 8 minutes or less. So these kinds of things are fast and furious and quick, and they're done.
Yeah.
So this is a lot of planning for something that is so brief, but that's space, right? That's how we access space at this time. So post-launch, let's talk a little bit about how this works. The launch itself, again, we mentioned is suborbital. So your story, hopefully, we're gonna not make any promises, and it's not ours to promise anyway, but there are some milestones, and this will be a launch that again lays the foundation for how the services and the rocket companies will be providing access to space in their in the Canadian in the country of Canada, which is really cool. Then we at Stories of Space are going to wrap up 2025, take a bit of a breath because between mission 5 and mission 3, we've been really busy this year. But that doesn't mean we're sitting still. A
Yeah.
breath is what we'll take. And then we're always collecting stories. So just because we're launching in November doesn't mean that we're not still gathering stories for the database and from the website to prepare for our next launch. Do we want to allude to what's next in 26 and forward?
Well,
Yes. Yes.
humanity is working towards our next big step forward, and that big step forward is returning to the moon. Now, it's been a moment I'm sure you are all aware, since the 60s and 70s when we sent people to the moon, and it's time to do it again. We've been talking about this with the Artemis program. There are a number of components that are involved there, and Stories of Space hopes to be part of that story. And we want to
Yes.
bring your hopes and dreams and your remembrances and your visions for the future along with us as we all move forward to that next step. Now, there's a lot of talk about what happens after that, but let's focus on the next step for now. And I think I don't want to say any more than that. That's not my story to tell.
Oh
So
gosh, it is so exciting. Yes, you're right. So from here, after we launch from Canada, and hopefully that will be a success story, we cannot wait to share, and we're looking forward to this so much. And an ongoing partnership with Maritime Launch Services, which we've certainly had throughout the years and look to continue to have. Thank you again. And then we are going to aim towards the moon. Yes, Alex said it. You announced it first. Congratulations. And what that will look like, the details, the how, the when, all of that TBD. We have a lot of work ahead of us. And who knows yet exactly how that will, what it will look like as far as like how we're going to get there, how stories are going to get carried from where to where, how, and the landing and all of that. Hang tight. That will be revealed to you as we go, but the big news will come in 2026. And we're so looking forward to that. For now, though, focus on Canada. So if you're listening and this is your first time either to the podcast or your first discovering stories of space, again, I'm sitting with Alex. He's our board member, one of the founders, along with Paul and Chad and myself and our many interns and ambassadors. This is a non for profit that, while we're based here in the United States, we are a global open source non for profit that is really honored to take your original work, your stories, the ones that you write, your white papers, your poems, your essays, whatever,
song
at
lyrics, yeah,
to space. And
exactly.
I just want to re-identify a couple things that have changed since our last mission, just for those of you who are listening and maybe you're familiar. But here's what's changed. One, we are opening up to every time we fly a few more languages. That's exciting, especially in service to the people of Canada who might want to submit a story in French, in English, or in their Indigenous language. Two, we have a beautiful certificate that you've designed, Alex, that is record of the space flight mission that you've sent your story to. And three, we've adjusted the word count, which is, as of right now, unlimited. That
Yeah.
means if you have pages and pages or even chapters of your story that are important to include, we don't want to limit that. So those are the updates that maybe perhaps since Mission 5 you are unaware of and now you can enjoy.
And on top of that, let's say you might be thinking, well, I don't have a story I want to tell. Well, we invite you to come and visit the website and read the stories that other people have submitted as well. Those stories are available to view on the website. You can see them there at storiesofspace.com. And then who knows, maybe one of their stories will inspire you as well. But even if you
Yes.
like contributing a story, we do invite you to come and read the stories that other people have contributed.
Yes. Okay. Well, I think we've covered everything here, Alex. This was a really nice overview of Mission 3. We are both in two separate locations, working and preparing for this mission as we do. So it's just days away now. And as we prepare, I just want to extend the invitation one more time. You're still, by the time you're hearing this podcast, there is still time for you to submit your story. Don't miss out. And if you know someone who's a great writer, interested in space, is an enthusiast about what it is here that we're doing, please share and extend to them this invitation as well. It's for everyone. And any closing thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, you don't have to be a great writer to have a story. So,
Mm.
and everybody's, I just want to slip that in. I'm not a great writer, but I love to just tell stories. And if you just have something, it doesn't matter what it is. We encourage you to share it, and be part of this.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's great.
Let's celebrate Canada's achievement.
Yes, I cannot wait. This is going to be so big, and I'm so looking forward to celebrating with you. Thank you for all of your work and support. You have built a beautiful database, a beautiful certificate of flight. Thank you, Alex, and thank you for being on the journey with us. So here we are, Mission 3, everything you needed to know, unpacked. We're going to be in the area at least prior to mission. So if you're local and you happen to be in Halifax, and you see any activity where we'll be probably at some of the libraries and the schools, please come share with us and introduce yourself, say hello. We'd love to meet you and see you, and honored to carry your story. Thanks again, Alex. We'll see you on the other side.
All right. Good luck. We'll see you.
If you enjoyed this episode, give it some stars by rating and reviewing it on your podcast platform. Embrace the space. Casual space.